Welcome back to It Ain't Rocket Science. I'm Adam Balkin. It all began on a cold Saturday in January in New Hampshire, and from that point, it was game on as over 40,000 young engineers from across the country spent months creating and competing in hopes of bringing their robots to the first robotics world championships. Shazia Khan is courtside for a high-tech game of ball.
They pass, shoot, and score the big win.
Oh, this feels amazing. We've been working all season for this, and it's finally paid off.
It's just like mind blown.
Student-built robots took center field at the first Robotics World Championship in St. Louis. Several days of matches whittled down 400 high school teams to a winning alliance of 3. Team 2848 from Dallas, Texas, Team 74 from Holland, Michigan, and Team 254 from San Jose, California.
I feel great. There was a lot of tension and stress before that last match. It all just built up, and now it's amazing.
Each competing team received a box of parts in January, along with a 6-week time frame to build a robot with athletic skill that could play with other robots for this year's challenge, Aerial Assist.
This year's challenge is basically taking a 2-foot diameter exercise ball, passing it between other robots, and scoring in a goal that's 6 feet in the air.
And the journey from bits to bot was one filled with
Staying at school until 10 p.m. sometimes.
And make sure everything is perfect, everything works correctly.
Now in its 25th year, first founder and inventor Dean Kamen says the mission remains the same: to inspire kids to pursue STEM.
It's a love fest of technology and everybody enjoys it.
After weeks of designing, building, and competing in this year's challenge, the first robotics season comes to a close. The robots and students head back home, some with trophies, but all with life lessons.
From discipline, commitment, and more.
Teamwork is the main thing I think I've learned.
Being friendly. I think that is the biggest one that I have learned here.
And Dean of Admissions at MIT, Stu Schmill, says those life lessons make everyone here a winner.
They really understand what it's like to be out in the real world, and it's more than just formulas and technology, but it's about really making things work.
And to celebrate when they do. For It Ain't Rocket Science, I'm Shazia Khan.
Now, robots at the first robotics competition are pretty advanced, but we caught up with some students building the foundation for a future in another kind of engineering, architecture. Rocco Vertuccio checks it out.
These students are building STEM skills from the ground up. It's a partnership between the Museum of the City of New York and the local Bricklayers Union. The hope is that it leads students to have a deeper understanding of the city around them.
We think this program of letting the children experience what it really means to engineer an arch will give them an insight into the thinking and the work behind things that they may take for granted.
And maybe they'll be left with an understanding and appreciation of the craft.
And the message definitely sticks.
It was fun because you got to sort of help out by making a wall.
I think just the engineering of them is very cool, how something like that could actually stay up.
The students were not on their own. They were given a helping hand by arch building pros.
It opens up their mind to different possibilities, to structures in the city. It's things I never thought about growing up.
A fun foundation in STEM that's sure to lead to a bright future. For It Ain't Rocket Science, I'm Rocco Vertuccio.
And at New York University, students who have built a firm foundation in engineering are getting a chance to show off their work. It's all about creativity and ingenuity, and for many of these students, it's a chance to solve problems in the world around them.
It's basically a humanoid which is going to help disabled people, to help them in small tasks like lifting up small stuffs and opening up a doorknob.
The purpose of the expo is to bring these projects out here in this public area so that people can see what is going on in our research labs.
And they didn't do it all on their own. Many students worked on teams. This student scientist even got help from a group of 5th graders.
They have actually built this robot, and they have actually designed the propellers on both the windmills over there.
While other projects are just downright cool.
It's a 2-stage high-powered rocket. The main goal is for it to reach an apogee of 5,000 feet and for us to recover it without breaking our sensitive payload, which is an egg.
This actually is rocket science.
Yes, it is rocket science.
The sky's the limit for students at the NYU Expo, but one man's love for engineering goes beyond the simple thrill of creation. Tara Lynn Wagner takes us along for the ride.
It's an adrenaline junkie's dream job. One that requires engineering, physics, and a strong stomach.
What it always comes down to really is the effects on the human body and what people would enjoy, not necessarily just endure, but what can make for a very pleasant experience.
Rob builds roller coasters at Cedar Point, one of the country's largest amusement parks. It sure sounds like fun and games, but there's some serious science involved.
You're going to match the gravitational forces you're coming up over top. You and the train are going to descend at the same rate as a natural rate of your inertia, and you can actually float and feel like you're just floating in the air as if you're flying. There are these guidelines that are published that have come from years and years of science, and it tells you what type of force, can be endured by the body, and then really for what duration. And it's really more related to a change of direction. The force really comes in when you're changing from the horizontal launch to go into the vertical plane. And that's when you're going to feel like you're being pressed into your seat.
Decker says his team uses physics and engineering to determine exactly what the rider will feel. In the park's newest coaster, Gatekeeper, riders are placed on the outside of the rail for a different, exhilarating experience.
Typically, you design a roller coaster so you center the forces right around the heart line of the rider. So you don't feel lightheaded, for instance, on the ride. But on a dynamic coaster like a wing coaster, it changes everything about how that relationship of the body is to the center line of the track and the fulcrum of that whole experience.
A roller coaster ride might only last a few minutes, but he says building one can take years. Still, he says, the wait is worth it.
Come to opening day, and that's when the thrill begins. When the people come off of the ride, and they're so excited to be here.
So next time you ask your parents to take you to an amusement park, tell them it's for science. For It Ain't Rocket Science, I'm Tara Lynn Wagner.
Well, that does it for this episode of It Ain't Rocket Science. Remember, to find more hands-on science, technology, engineering, and math learning opportunities in your community, head over to www.connectamillionminds.com. And until next time, it's been a blast.